All right, everyone, your eyes are not deceiving you. We are back for Midnight Magic Musings, episode number 27. Why is that significant? Because we were only like 4 episodes behind the entirety of the Marvel Cinematic Universe and the shows that they have produced on Disney Plus. So we're making our way to catch up with the MCU. I am your humble host, still the Lord Cephas, and today I am joined by, well, let's be honest, my beautiful other half, Lady Cephas, is back. She is joining us. Lady Cephas, how are you?
I'm good. But I think the 27th episode is more in line with the fact that my birthday is on the 27th. So,
Ooh, it's an early birthday present. Wait, do I still have to buy you anything?
yeah.
Yes, and I mean, of course I would. I don't even know why she would even asked that. That seems very weird on a
Mm-hmm.
recorded call. But before we get too deep into the program, we want to remind you a few housekeeping matters as we begin. And that is, go ahead and click that like button if you would. If you've not ever subscribed before, or if you have and you've decided maybe it wasn't for you at one point, well, you know what? We can be for you again. So click the subscribe button if you will. Definitely share this thing out on your preferred method of social media. Share it with others. We do greatly appreciate it. We have built up a nice little fan base here, and we absolutely love hearing from you. All the comments, all the suggestions, all the questions, they really do help us quite a bit. So if you would help us with that, we really do appreciate it. Now, Lady Cephas, you are back now. You've done a few of these, so you're a regular part of the family now. And so what we want to do is we want to start with a topic very near and dear to both of our hearts. As anyone who's spent any time watching this channel knows, we are big Walking Dead fans. We love that series, that franchise, which has been what? It's been along as long as we've been married. So what? 12, going on 13 years worth of franchises, give or
Yes.
take.
Mm-hmm.
Well, don't worry because there's still more to come. Because on September 10th on AMC and AMC Plus, Darryl Dixon, his spinoff, will premiere that particular night. Now, for those of you that may not remember or did not make it through The Walking Dead, and we know there were some drop offs and such, they did 11 seasons, and at the end of that season, he was sort of in the overseer there at Commonwealth, the father figure role. But they just recently ran a new trailer with some new footage as part of the story, kind of trying to prepare people for what is to come. And so I guess I'll throw it out to you first, if you don't mind. Based on the trailer that they just dropped, what are some of your thoughts about the Darryl Dixon series as we're less than a month away now?
Well, I think it was very intriguing the first little bit of the trailers that they had because it didn't really give a whole lot of information, but it showed him in some really cool places, like historically really cool places, and so that was enough for me to pique my interest. But now the new trailer, which I did bring to your attention, was out. Um, yeah, I think that it's going to be quite interesting. You know, it can be a little intimidating because you don't know what is in store. And so you just kind of like, or please don't let this suck. Please don't let this suck. And I don't think it's going to suck. I think that I'm not a spoilers
Mm-hmm.
reader, which you know that.
It's true.
We talk about that frequently.
She tells me not to tell her things
Yes,
that
I
I have
do.
discovered.
He follows up on a lot of stuff. And but I did see a headline that one of the theories is in the Daryl Dixon show that one of the characters is going to be immune.
Mm.
So I don't know if that's true or not. So we'll see. But it definitely, the trailer gave more information on how he wound up in France.
Right.
And yeah, I can't wait. What about you? What did you think?
So, and you know from having heard me blabber on and on and on, I have mixed emotions because I'm like,
Yeah.
and this is not a spoiler. This is in the trailers. They've said it at Comic Cons for 2 years now. He's going to France. Why does Daryl Dixon go to France? And I think they've given a pretty good outline of why, but not really the specific reason, just that he ran afoul of someone or some group. and he wakes up in France, and or however it's going to work.
With your dad jokes, I thought that a bird was going to be involved when you said a fowl.
You know what? It's not appropriate here.
Mhm.
You have to get that early in the morning on the Midnight Magic Musings channel.
Yeah, yeah.
But if you want, I can do one before we leave because you asked for
I
it.
have one.
Do you want to go ahead and do it now?
I do.
Okay, go ahead.
I see London. I see France. I want to see Daryl's underpants.
It's not off-putting at all as the husband when your wife on a recorded line is talking about wanting to see other males' undergarments. That may actually sway how I feel about the series and as to whether I'll actually participate in it, and I may not let her participate in it now because she's been bad and not in a fun kind of way.
It's not like that. It's just your silly dad jokes. There was a mom joke for you.
You know what? We always accept that here.
Mm-hmm.
I like the Darryl Dixon character. He has grown an awful lot. Now, for those who may not know, he is not a part of the comic book series, the graphic novels. Didn't exist.
Nope.
Created for television.
Yep.
Just like the Merle character, his brother played by the fantastic Michael Rooker.
Mm-hmm.
Those are created for the series, and they gelled so well and were such breakout hits.
They were phenomenal.
And here's what interests me, and that is they've done this with Dead City, which anybody who watched our review of that knows we really enjoyed that series a great deal. Eli Jorn, we appreciate what you did with the series.
Absolutely.
The Walking Dead for 11 years was very rural. Very small town feeling. The prison was about the biggest thing that they did for a long time. But even that was a southern prison. Mm-hmm. Commonwealth was bigger, obviously. But if you look in the final scenes, it's still kind of self-contained.
Well, it was because it was spread out over, they had 50,000 part of their community, but they were not all in one place. So.
Because that would put them what? Ohio-ish? Commonwealth, I believe I believe where it was. So you've covered the states of Georgia.
Nobody wants to be in Ohio.
Ouch, we have family there. Mm-hmm. That you know what's in Ohio? The Ohio State, Cousin Bob, but also the Ohio State University is also there. But we covered the states of Georgia. We covered, we know Alabama was talked about because we know that one family went back to Birmingham, although we would see Ramirez later. South Carolina was talked about. We know that Virginia was covered because that's where you had Hilltop. Yes, where you had Alexandria. And so they've kind of worked their way up the seaboard a little bit. We know Fear has, started in California, LA, worked its way
to Mexico.
It kind of went New Mexico, then to Texas.
Not New Mexico.
It didn't? Didn't have to cut through. Oh, yeah, I guess you could go down. Yeah. See, geography's not my strong suit. History, yes. Geography, no. They come up through Texas, but then it ends up in Mississippi and Louisiana. Mm-hmm. And then they end up, I guess, over in, what we're going to call Savannah. I guess that's where Padre's supposed to be.
Is that where they're supposed to be?
Well, I know it's where they're filming it, so I just made that assumption, and that's what it is. And so it's really been, I hate to say rural because that sounds negative. That's not what I'm trying to say, but it's been very self-contained. Now with Dead City, you went to Manhattan, you went to the Big Apple. Mm-hmm. And even though they didn't have a tremendous amount of CGI for people, because I think that would have been a waste of funds, it gave a different vibe and a feel to the series. It kind of reinvigorated the whole idea. Mm-hmm. And I think now going to another country, not Canada, no offense to our friends just a little bit north of us, or, having been in Mexico, but go completely the other side of the world, literally. And now you're getting to see things that you've seen on TV, or maybe some of you have visited in person, and getting to see that franchise in that particular setting. Mm-hmm. I think there's a coolness to it because I feel like at a certain point, and this is where Hollywood, I think, has struggled, and we'll talk a little more about this later too, is they tentpole everything. Mm-hmm. We have a topic coming up next that's a multi-season show that we've started watching. But it seems like everything has to be a tentpole. Nothing can be standalone. The Walking Dead after 11 years and Tales of the Walking Dead, which was okay. It was interesting. A Dead City season. We know they're coming back for season 2, thankfully. We just no idea when that'll ever be. And now you're going to France. I think it kind of reinvigorates, breathes a little bit of life into a franchise that's been going on for a very long time. Marvel struggles with that. If you think Marvel's been going on 20 years worth of movies and TV shows, franchises don't last that long typically. And so I'm excited about this. Let's see what they can do, because say what you want. And I find this absolutely hilarious. Norman Reedus plays the character Darryl Dixon. Now, he plays a Southern boy, a redneck, if you will, right? But a heart of gold. Anybody who's ever met him in real life, at least from some of the people that I know that have run into him on the street and talked to him, he is not that person.
Not a heart of gold?
No, he is not a Southern.
Oh, definitely not.
No. He is more of you might see him maybe in one of the five boroughs in New York going out with a significant other to a restaurant. He plays that character. He has embodied that Darryl Dixon, and so getting to see him carry it on, I believe he's earned that.
Well, you know, he is an artist, right?
I did know that.
And that has done art shows and whatnot.
Well,
So,
we've been to his restaurant actually
well, yeah.
in Sonoya,
Mm-hmm.
Georgia, Nick and Norman's,
Mm-hmm.
and he had some artwork.
Very good.
It's really good. If you get a chance, stop. Look, is it a little pricey? Yes.
No, I didn't think so.
If it's over $10, in my budgeting purposes,
I
it's
didn't
pricey.
think it was overpriced. It was very, very good.
The mac and cheese in the little containers, perfect. But the salmon was really good too, just for the record. And we've had several meals there. It's been good every time.
Yes.
But he has some of his artwork there.
Yeah.
And they have another one. I want to say
There's another one. I think
Chattanooga,
somewhere in
maybe
Tennessee,
something like that.
I don't remember.
This has really been his thing. Now he has other projects. We watched 2 seasons of a ride along.
And it's back for another.
So AMC has found a cornerstone that they can build upon. I kind of feel that way about Jeffrey Dean Morgan too, because not just on Negan, but they had with the Morgan show with him and his wife, Hillary Burton Morgan. When you find those people, you get as much as you can. And sometimes it comes off as, well, they're just trying to extend the life to get as much as they can. I don't feel that way about this. I feel like this is the natural progression of his character. He doesn't strike me as the one who would be daddy to everybody in the Commonwealth, because he's still going to go out. He's still going to be Darryl and go out and look for things. And I still think he's looking for Rick. I don't think that ever stops. I think that's what he goes out for. Just in my opinion, and he runs into the wrong group and ends up overseas. And
so, just based on the trailers, we don't really have a whole lot of information. But I want to throw something out at you, just kind of see what you think and what you all think. So I follow Cassie McClintock on Instagram.
And who is she? What does she play?
She played Lydia on The Walking Dead. And she was recently in Europe with Jadis.
Oh! And you'll remember Jadis not just from The Walking Dead, but also World Beyond.
Yes.
The two season run, that little series they did.
And Jadis is the one who gave them Rick. So now she was posting pictures of them in Ireland and all of that at some different pubs. And as I've recently learned from our niece that is in Germany, that a lot of places are only about 2 hours away in any given direction in Europe. So I think it would be absolutely amazing if Lydia showed up on the Darryl Dixon, because her and Darryl were close.
He was one of the few that really took to her.
Yes, and Carol, we've since learned is going to be making a reappearance. Spoiler. Well, it's out there.
It's on the internet. It's already out there.
Yeah. So I don't know. Maybe that would be really cool if that's what happened.
You can't. So you run into a situation where you have such an ensemble cast, you can't spin everybody off.
No.
Because budget's that's not how it works.
So what if Lydia is following Carol, who's trying to find Darryl, and Jadis is also trying to find Darryl because he's an A or a B. I don't know. He's a B. Whatever Rick was.
Right.
She said he was a B. Whatever that turned out to be.
So do you think this is a CRM type situation where he ran afoul of them? potentially?
Well, I can't help but wonder if that's not the case because the Commonwealth, um, while they were 50,000 strong, they didn't have all that much stuff like the CRM. The
Right.
CRM had helicopters and, a big military force and all of that. They were all over the place, even into New York, if you remember correctly.
Yeah, that's true.
That's where the dad was.
That's true.
And so could it? Possibly.
So at this point, you've got the settlements that we are most familiar with. You've got Commonwealth,
Mhm.
Alexandria,
Oceanside, Hilltop.
how did Hilltop?
Well, Hilltop moved, but
yeah, it kind of did. And the kingdom sort of went defunct. That kind of went defunct.
Kingdom still ruled by king, though. Kingdom, he has palaces all over. What can I say?
Well, I mean, he's just like the. He became the governor, right? After Pamela Milton was deposed. So he became the governor, and then
because I know
Mercer,
he was the zookeeper.
he was. Well, you know what? If you wrangle animals for a living, it's no different in politics. That's how I look at it.
You know what? 100%.
And Mercer was lieutenant governor, I think.
Yes.
And being former military, they're just one step away from another military coup. And you know what? We won't do all that.
Nope.
But you've got all these settlements, and then CRM's kind of been forgotten. Now, they were hinted at a little bit by Commonwealth, and they never said the letters. But there were hints about groups that would drop off things on rooftops and such.
Yes, and they did.
And it was just enough to kind of give people little crumbs like us who watch and consume everything. It would be interesting if they would circle back around.
It would. To
give us a little bit more of CRM. And the question I have for you is this. At the end of World Beyond, which was a 2-season arc of really, it was a young adult series of which I actually thought was really good. They left Nebraska, Omaha, which unfortunately did not fare well during the zombie apocalypse either.
I think they went to watch Mutual of Omaha. Do you remember that show?
You know what? I do. And I also remember Jack Hanna as well, because who doesn't love Jack Hanna?
Yeah, Jack Hanna has dementia, I believe. He's in a really bad way.
As a little boy, I remember they would have those like on Sunday nights.
Yeah, the guy with the white hair and the mustache. I remember that.
The voice, the kind of stuff kind of soothes you, and then you have the animals in the slow mo shot. It's why I still like documentary stuff.
Well, that's why I like watching the nature shows.
Well, because of our generation, that's what we knew, and it stays with you. I think, and just hear me out on this. I think because it's only 6 episodes, correct? Is what Darryl Dixon is.
I believe so. To start,
but they've already said that Melissa McBride will be
it's having been renewed. I did see that.
So my guess is she's a season 2 ad because the show's probably already shot. But the Lydia thing is interesting because if you think of it, Lydia's mom is gone.
Yeah.
Carol was and the little children have decided they don't like people coming down the stairs, and so the Wonder Dogs, Lola and Henry, have chosen to speak. Her mother is gone. Carol was like a mother to her.
Yes.
Darryl was like a dad or a protector, an older brother, whatever. So she would make sense to be in that particular role. So will she, won't she? I don't know. But it sure is fun to speculate on it because it makes sense. And what'd you think? Now you have to understand, we started watching this show right about the time we got married is when it debuted. And so we've had this thing our entire run. Would you have thought that now 12 and a half years later, which is where we are in our married life, that this would still be a thing? Could you have even thought that the show or the franchise would have legs like that?
No, it seems like very little or very few shows have this kind of life. We were actually talking about the writer's strike a little bit. You're all into it and all that. I am not.
You're a better person than
but one of the things we talked about was there's not a lot of shows out there that have that kind of life. That they, even the reruns, Friends, MASH,
Big Bang.
shows, yeah, Big Bang. But that, I mean, that's just a few. I mean, then you have, Law and Order, which has 25 years worth of seasons or whatever.
That's per series too. That's not even just one.
Yeah.
That's like
I don't
Mothership,
watch it.
SVU,
Special Victims Unit.
Special Victims Unit, Criminal Intent went like 8 or 9, maybe longer than that. That was with the dude that would stare like this at you. The one who played Kingpin.
I don't watch it, so I don't know. Kingpin.
Yeah, the guy that played the Kingpin in the Hawkeye series, had his head shaved. Was that police detective in that.
Okay.
He kind of fell off the map a little bit. Then he came back for that. So they've had a lot of different variations. And there's Organized Crime, which brought back Christopher Maloney, who is a Stabler. See, I can nerd out that quickly. But there's not that many things out there. And so I would argue that The Walking Dead has certainly found their place in the pantheon of television. And by the way, listen, if you're cool enough to make it to Hollywood Studios Halloween Horror Nights, I'll get it out here in a second. You're pretty cool.
Yeah.
And they've done that.
And we got to see it.
We did. And
not on purpose, but we did. It was cool.
It was cool. And we've been blessed with a lot of different opportunities. Mm-hmm. All right. We're going to go to our last main topic, and then we'll do some overtime things. We go here. Oh, it is all yours. You just go right ahead.
Well, with the writer's strike, there doesn't seem to be as much decent material out there anymore. Also, with streaming services, we don't have access to as many shows, as before. So we picked up, well, you and I play around sometimes. Like, for instance, you came across Tulsa King. Excellent. I didn't really want to watch it at first because, I grew up a Sylvester Stallone fan, with Rambo and Rocky and all of that. And I thought, oh gosh, here's going to be a cheesy New York accent or whatever show. Forget about it or whatever, Oh, I was so wrong. And I'm so happy that I was so wrong because that was a great series. I can't wait for the second season to come out. But I stumbled across another one, Joe Pickett. Well, I came across Joe Pickett.
Correct.
You came across Tulsa King.
Correct.
And, I was just looking for something that would be at least, a little bit interesting. Mm-hmm. Peacock, you're not finding anything other than, reality shows. And Peacock, being an NBC thing, they cancel anything that's good anyway. So I just quit watching. Yeah.
There's a lot of years of pent up frustration and hatred over shows she liked that were canceled.
There is. So then, so I come across Joe Pickett on Paramount Plus. Go Paramount Plus because you've got several shows that I really like. Mm-hmm. And for me, it was intriguing from the start. And really, I think it's because you could tell there was a little bit of a mystery there, but you weren't really sure where it was going. For you, I think you had different feelings on it.
Yeah, it's interesting in our houses because we have a lot of similar tastes, but we come at things two different ways a lot of times. We may end up in the same spot, but we looked at it two different ways. And our journey to get to the same place oftentimes will not look or sound the same.
No.
And I saw this in the first episode for me, and we won't go into super heavy spoiler territory, but it's been out for a while now. There's more than one season of it, so you can catch up at your own leisure.
Yes, and we won't spoil it.
We won't. But the first episode or two, I felt like were a little... Because I do understand that when you're doing a brand new show, you've got to establish. And you took to it more quickly than I did. I think I just did it because you were watching, and we're going to hang out and watch something. Right. Now, after a couple of episodes in, I'm like, okay, I can get with this now. So for me, it was a little slower, the investment. you seem to really get the whole vibe right away. So you're the fan they're looking for. And what, we finished that off in what? Season 1 in about a week?
Yeah.
About a week. Not too bad.
Well, the really, I think the really cool part about you and I not necessarily taking to the same thing in the same way, um, with these shows, but still, coming to it with our own likes and dislikes, is it gives us a talking point, and a talking point and having something to discuss is so important in marriage. And so this lets us, you know, actually have the opportunity to converse back and forth, not just you telling me how wrong I am or me telling you how wrong you are, or why our opinions should be, we're not arguing, well, our opinions should be the same. No, I'm fine with that. But, if it turns out to be something that I don't like, I'm not going to watch it. You're
Right.
going to watch it. And I think we're okay with that. And I gave you that option several times.
Yes, you did.
Hey, if you're really not into it, that's fine. I'll watch it on my own.
Mhm.
And that's just something we've done, I think, for the most part, our whole marriage. For the most part. I would say it's gotten more like that in the last couple of years, like with COVID and the changes and things like that. But the pickings on TV have gotten really slim in quality, in my opinion, to the point to where I used to be a very avid reader, and had gotten out of that, and now I'm back to reading actual books.
I actually bought a book last week for the first time in, well, outside of school, because you've got to have books for school when you're studying.
And no pictures.
I can read books that don't have pictures. Thank you.
I know, because you're really smart.
I'm really educated.
Mhm.
Thanks for noticing.
He is. He's very smart.
Shh, don't tell stories on me.
Mm-hmm.
But and it's interesting. And before we even get into Joe Pickett, I think
Mhm.
this point's just really fascinating. Is that isn't that really what entertainment's supposed to be?
Mm-hmm.
Most of the time, entertainment should make you feel good, forget about the world, and just
Yeah.
enjoy yourself for the
Mhm.
minute. But what I find, at least for us, is that it gives us stuff to talk about. Tomorrow morning, I'll be
Yeah.
riding into work, and she'll call me, and we'll talk. So, what did you think of that episode last night? I've had time to think about it. Da, da, da.
Yeah.
And we'll do that back and forth.
Mhm.
And I think honestly, I think I enjoy those times more than I enjoy the episode. Or said a different way, it makes me enjoy the episodes or the movie or whatever it is
Mhm.
more, because I have somebody to flesh it out with, to
Right.
talk about. And even when I have just ridiculous ideas, and she's very kind to me, she's like, you know what? I didn't see it that way at all. And it's not well, I don't know how you saw that. I didn't see it. It's more of, I couldn't even fathom you came from that perspective. I came from this one. And then I can hear yours and go, I can't believe she came from that side. But you know what? If these two things, if you lay them out together, they have some of the same starting points. And it's just,
Mhm.
it's interesting that I think when entertainment is done right, it's not just, well, we blew 2 hours on Netflix. Let's go to bed. This is something we can talk about and share. And I feel like that's missing in a lot of places where it's just
Mhm.
one off. It's just mindless. It's like watching one of those sci-fi movies, my Asylum movies, that are just, and I love you, Asylum. Thank you for making the movies you make. They're not really discussable. They're just sort of one-off schlocks. But I enjoy that kind of stuff. But when you find something you can talk about,
Mhm.
I think that creates a much more fulfilling entertainment experience.
And I think that's what The Walking Dead did for us from the get-go. And I think that's been, from the beginning of that series, because that's something we got to talk about. And, it would be like, what did we just see? Or, have to, scenes that were so mind-blowing that we would have to watch it again just to give our minds time to catch up and to, understand what we just saw.
Mhm.
And it's hard finding, shows like that, like the other thing that I appreciate about this show is that while it does have some profanity in it, it little bit of nudity. It was not on the extreme level of Yellowstone. And don't get me wrong, I enjoy Yellowstone, but with a big box of salt because, they, I, it's just nonstop cursing. And to me, I feel like if you have to curse that much, then you're trying to make up for a lack of content in your show. And, that it's just not necessary. Now, that's just my opinion. And I just don't find it necessary. But
so a couple things jumped out at me on this show, and I want to get your feedback on. Number one, you know how every show calls it, "Oh, we're just one big family." That's one big load. Because
yeah,
you find out years later, a lot of these people hated each other behind the scenes.
Mhm.
Production was a disaster. Blah 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 blah. This show really does try to be a family. It's family oriented. I don't mean that there aren't certain words on there maybe that should not be,
right.
but it really does try to portray a family in the most positive light that you can.
Yes.
You don't really get that a lot anymore.
No.
You have a broken family
Mhm.
or a deadbeat parent, or you have grandparents raising the children or aunts, uncle, whatever. This one really does go out of its way to try and hold on to that last vestige of a normal family life. Now,
Right.
in the middle of all that, it all goes
Not
haywire.
and not to say that families don't have challenges that they face every day
Absolutely.
because that's one thing that Leave It to Beaver and all those shows, while those shows were out before my time, I did see some of them in rerun, and it just set that false expectation of what it's like. And you can have um, a good family and a good family life, but still have challenges because nobody goes through life every day. I don't care how much money you have, what your situation is. Nobody floats through life on a cloud and is never touched by something unfortunate or something, and that's I appreciated that, about this series, seeing, you had your people that were really down on their luck,
Yeah.
have, really struggling.
Mhm.
Then you had, the people that um, were very wealthy, but thought they were above the law and better than everyone else, and you get a little bit of all of it, and plus you get to see beautiful, beautiful scenery
Yep,
set in Wyoming.
they're in Wyoming. So if you're a
Mhm.
Yellowstone fan, I did ask, do they know what the train station is? If you don't get
Yes.
it, don't worry about it. But I
Yeah.
do wonder if they do.
I'm not sure. I thought something about that, about the train station. But let me ask you this question.
Okay.
Many people that go to the train station
Yes.
to never return,
Yes.
do they not ever think that if anybody ever found them, they'd be able to identify them by their clothes as well?
So my understanding is it's a jurisdictional black hole, is how they describe the train
But I
station.
mean, eventually.
Well, I mean,
I don't know.
maybe you find another creature that is considered long extinct, and maybe that is the impetus for finding the train
Could
station.
be. Could be.
You could marry the two shows together. I'm just
Area
don't.
51. Now Area 53.
The truth is out there. It's way out there, but the truth
It's
is
way
out
out
there.
there.
I like your
True.
point though, because every family's touched in our society.
Yeah, everybody.
And I'm a fan of fantasy, not just because I grew up with that kind of stuff,
Mm-hmm.
but because I like to escape.
Yeah.
I don't want to watch a show ripped from the headlines, and I think Law and Order has done a great job with that for 25 years.
Yeah.
But after a while, if it's SVU, I can only handle so much of stuff that we see, and many of our families have experienced in real life. I don't want to watch what I'm living.
Yeah.
That's why I've always found the Marvel stuff so much more fun because it's not real,
Mm-mm.
but I can lose myself in it for a little bit.
But having said all that, check out Joe Pickett. Let us know what you think.
Yeah,
Give it more than a couple of episodes and see
I
what you think.
she was in it from the beginning. I took about 2.5 episodes to really
Mhm.
invest, and I have no problem admitting that. But
Mhm.
after about those 2.5 to the third episode, you get what they were going for.
Yeah.
Then you look back on episodes 1 and 2 and go, oh. So there's a lot of layers that have to be peeled back as the series
I agree.
progresses to really, and that's good storytelling. Don't get me wrong,
I agree. There was some good storytelling.
but if you're that person that's like you have to be hooked immediately, you're going to want to give it a little bit of time. I
Yeah.
think
Mhm.
maybe you're hooked right away, but I would suggest it. They completed season 1. They released spoiler. There's a season 2 as well, and it was being discussed for a season 3, but then came the writer's strike. So
Mhm.
my guess is it probably will come
I hope
back for a
so, yeah.
season 3. But I mean, everything is
Mhm.
it's just kind of sitting out there. So give it a chance. It's on Paramount Plus.
Paramount
Both
Plus.
seasons are streaming right now. So give it a look if you're looking for something new, because as of this morning, there has still been no movement, at least as far as changing the status of the actors' strike. So we're going to do a little bit of an overtime here, just kind of free flow some thoughts and ideas. One of the things I found interesting is over the last couple of weeks, there's a phenomenon that has taken place, and that is an old show that did 9 seasons on USA
Yeah.
Network, which we were all in. Well, we started watching it on Netflix, what, 2 or 3 seasons in. I think we picked up with season 4 live on USA and carried it the
Yes.
rest of the way.
Yes.
Suits, starring Gabriel Mott, Patrick Adams, some young lady named Meghan Markle. Don't know whatever happened to her. Sarah Rafferty, lot of different. Well, they were really mostly stage actors, but they had just breakout roles there.
They did.
They added Dule Hill later on, who was Gus on Psych, and who was also in The West Wing. Who I love Dule Hill tremendously, but that was different for him. He was very serious. That show's called A Second Life on Netflix, and now people are finding it for the first time. Now it debuted in 2013, somewhere in there. So it's a 10-year old. No, 2011. So it's well over 10 years old now. And now it's called A Second Life on Netflix. People are finding it. And we actually have family who was talking to us last weekend about this new show they're watching. What's the new show? Suits. And I'm like, oh, they revived the series? They didn't realize that it wasn't active anymore. And it's a good series. We enjoyed it all the way through. But here's what was being discussed this morning. And, as Lady Cephas says, I'm the one up studying and filling my brain with weirdness because I can't sleep. The writers are talking about not getting many residuals. Well, after a while, at least from what I read, the residuals start to die off and or end because they're working off a document from 1953. So that's what, 70 years?
Almost 70 years.
I had to count it on my fingers. You should know, you're like, I can count it in my head. 70 years of working off the same type of document, but things have changed in the last 5 to 10 to 15 years. Now you've got Netflix and Disney Plus and Paramount Plus and Apple TV, which we don't even do. There's
HBO Max.
HBO Max.
Or any of that.
Peacock. I mean, you've got all those different things and choices and options. Plus, people still have cable. They still have, even though people are cutting the cord, it's still the primary delivery. And there's no real mechanism in place to see these actors and actresses, writers, directors continually get paid, especially when they get sold to a Netflix, and Netflix strikes gold and people start watching it. Netflix reaps the benefits, but the actors and actresses, writers, producers, all the companies, they don't. They just got a flat fee for selling the rights to it. And so one of the things that's brought up in the last week was, well, a writer said I only got $259 as a residual from the residual check for an episode that they did. I understand that's very frustrating. It's very shocking. They had a person from She-Hulk talked about they only got $300 for an episode they worked on. But I guess my thing, and I'm trying to understand and be sympathetic to everybody, is I will quote Robert Meyer Burnett, who's one of the smartest people in entertainment. If you've never heard or read any of the stuff, go look up Robert Meyer Burnett, RMB. He has the Burnett Work, Observations at like midnight. He's amazing. But he says this, and I quote, "You don't get what you deserve. You get what you negotiate." And if it's not in the contract, you know what? The people aren't going to do it unless they're forced.
And this is not like the 1920s, the 1930s, when they were just navigating, all of this stuff. I mean, it was even what, the 1980s, 1990s, maybe 1990s, 2000s, when they negotiated anything that went into syndication.
Mhm.
Then there were additional
Correct.
royalties
Mhm.
too, because it didn't used to be that way. So, when MASH was around, Happy Days, Laverne and Shirley, like I loved all of those shows. And, which I don't know that Laverne and Shirley and Happy Days is still on, but
But they've
MASH
definitely been
is.
sold into syndication through the years.
Yeah, I mean they, but then I don't know enough about it to say who's right or wrong or anything. But for me, my thought is, well, wait, you were already paid for this.
Mhm.
You were paid for this service. Why are they paying you again and again and again? Because you've done no new work on it. And I maybe I'm in the wrong business. I don't know, but
Let me give you one thing on that.
okay.
One of my favorite shows to watch, and you can watch it in syndication on CNBC, and that is Shark Tank.
Oh yeah.
I love those folks because I'm fascinated by it, and I realize it's for television, and I realize it's scripted. Every reality show is scripted too. Don't let anybody fool
Oh
you.
yeah, definitely.
But Mr. Wonderful sits in the middle. I love
Yes, he
Mr. Wonderful.
does.
Is he nice? I think he probably is a very nice person, but he's also got a personality. But it's like this, or
Kevin Leary.
Kevin O'Leary.
O'Leary.
It's like this or not, right?
Mhm.
But he always asks for, I want a royalty. And he wants it in what they call perpetuity, which means every time you sell a widget,
Mhm.
he gets a percentage of that sale for the rest of his life. And I'm sure he writes it in to the rest of his company and it rolls on down. If you write it into the contract, it's there. You
Yeah.
have to fulfill it until that contract is modified or terminated.
Mhm.
The problem is life has changed so much in the way that we consume our media, we don't keep up. We're working off of documents and systems that are not as applicable as they used to be.
No.
Think about the movies that we grew up watching. Think about the movies from the 70s from Disney. So I remember Herbie,
Mhm.
right? Um, those movies aren't shown anymore.
They're all on Disney.
They're on
Plus
Disney.
now.
They're buried somewhere in the vault on Disney Plus. But for a long time, they
Mhm.
would come out with a release every couple of years. They would have the VHS because again, I'm old.
Yeah, I think every 10 years they would release one of the movies.
They would call it the release from the vault. It was a big
Yep,
deal,
that's
right?
exactly what it was.
Now they do physical media in Australia and other parts of the world. It's still a big deal, but in the United
Mhm.
States, it's not like it used to be.
No.
You can go to a yard sale today and find plenty of VHS copies.
Yes, you can.
The Black Diamond ones, the ones everybody thought were like really worth something. It turns out they're still just VHS tapes.
Mhm.
But that was a big deal, that mode, and Disney made a lot of money, not just off the theater, but releasing those things.
Mhm.
But when you stop releasing physical media, that cuts off some of your money. That's less money that goes back to the
Cuts off
people.
a lot of that money.
Cuts back to the people. If you don't license it out with agreements, then if you put it on Disney Plus, it's dead at that point.
Mhm.
And so we're really in a situation where the entertainment industry is being forced to change.
Mhm.
Does it suck for a lot of people? It does. Because you know what? The people that build costumes for The Walking Dead aren't working
No.
because of this. And so
right, because it's a snowball effect.
it's a snowball effect. So everybody in the industry is going to suffer.
Right.
The actors get the blame for being the ones who are striking as they strike in
because
solidarity
the writers are
with the
on,
writers.
right.
But I do understand that, hey, there are some things that need to be changed. And if they're not going to be changed, then we're going to stop now because we're only going to continue to lose. So I get sticking up for yourself. But here's why I say all of that, because I don't understand everything either. But we're in a situation now where the movie franchises have started to bring people back to the theaters more. You look at what Top Gun Maverick did.
Oh, it was incredible.
You look at Minions, The Rise of Gru.
Mhm.
You look at Puss in Boots, which was released on Peacock the day it came out in movie theaters and still cleared almost $500 million in the movie theater. Yeah, I don't understand that one either.
I don't either.
Mario Brothers, Super Mario Bros., huge hit. There have been a handful of that people have come out for. Look at Barbieheimer. You've got the Barbie movie.
Mhm.
Think about what you want. If you're entertained, be entertained. If you don't like it, don't like it. Just be happy, right? Oppenheimer, which by the way is a 3-hour movie, and there's not a lot of action scenes because it's about the guy who builds the atomic bomb. It has people are going to see both of them. It's a weird white unicorn that makes no sense, but it's happening. So people are coming back. But now you've gone on strike again. And I'll give you a quick anecdotal story, and then I'll throw it back over to Lady Cephas here. My grandmother raised me, my mama, and she was a baseball fan because when we grew up, you only had for cable. When we got it, we had 13 stations, three of which were local. You have NBC, no, four: NBC, CBS, ABC, Fox, which was new to us because this is late '80s.
Yeah.
We had PBS, which is where I watched Star Trek, the original series, and Twilight Zone for the first time. And Hee Haw, because from the South.
Oh, yeah.
But it was on there. And Lawrence Welk, although no one's going to get that.
Plenty will.
Uh,
Plenty of people suffered.
I saw a lot of documentary stuff on it, a lot of the nature stuff.
Doctor Who. That was the first time I watched Doctor Who.
They still have Nova and Nature and all those things that are still live today. But they had a channel called TBS, WTBS out of Atlanta, the super station, which was a big joke because it was really a low-powered station in downtown Atlanta for years. But they aired the Atlanta Braves. And we became Atlanta Braves fans because down here in Florida, we didn't have a professional team back then. We had no Rays, no Marlins. This was 25 years before that was thought of. 20 years before it was thought of. Let me get my numbers straight. So we watched the Braves, and they were awful. You think the Bad News Bears are bad? They were embodying it every single night. I mean, the fellas tried, but they didn't have any money to work with. The stadium was never full. They got beat all the time. In fact, one night, it was the very end of the season. There, you have to read this. This telecast is protected under copyright from Major League Baseball. Finally, halfway through, the guy goes, "You know what? You don't really care what you do to broadcast. Do whatever you want."
That's
because
funny.
No one's watching, no one's listening. And they were always making jokes because they knew that, but they were still doing their job, trying to be entertaining. And then they got some minor leaguers in the first round draft who got to be really good. They called them up. They started winning. They go to the World Series. They went worst to first in 1991, lost to the Minnesota Twins in the World Series. Still bitter. Say that for another show. 92, they go to the World Series. They lost to the Blue Jays, Toronto Blue Jays. 93, they lose to Philly in the, I know it's a long story, in the National League, the championship series. But they went on strike right after that. And my mama took it personal because she had watched them for years. And all of a sudden, the players had decided that they didn't make enough money, so they weren't going to play. Now, you must understand, we're just country folk. How nuanced was that argument? We didn't understand everything, and I still don't. But in her heart and her mind, they walked out on her. She never came back. Baseball came back the next year. The Braves won the World Series in 95, and she never watched a game. She knew they won, and she never watched a baseball game again because the strike happened and because it affected her. From an entertainment perspective, she never came back. She actually started watching college football with me, which is what she would do till the end of her life. I would just caution people. Don't keep pulling rugs out from under people because there's no guarantee that people will come back just as strong as before. And I'm just saying, fight for what you need to fight for. I'm all about that. But just understand, even if they sign an agreement tomorrow, it's
still going to be a while.
So it would take at least 3 months to start shooting and get people together and do that pre-production stuff and all that.
Yeah.
So I'm an NCIS fan because I'm old and I like the show and I will always like the show.
You're not old.
I feel old some days when I get out of bed. But it's not coming back till December at the earliest. And that's if they struck a deal today or tomorrow. Yeah. It would be December. And so then you're talking about January.
So maybe everybody needs a cleansing from TV. So maybe this is a good thing because we all just need to cleanse our palate and then go back with some fresh new
That's an interesting idea. Well, movies are going to still come out because they've already been in the pipeline.
Sure.
So they're being released.
Sure.
And there's some big ones coming still. You've got the Marvels in November. Let's see. Stop it. Stop it. Miss Marvel deserves better. By the way, she debuted on ABC this past week.
I didn't know, or we could have watched it.
Well, then someone would have.
Oh.
It was kind of rough ratings wise. It's also still summertime, just starting school.
Yeah.
But you've got Hunger Games coming out in November.
See.
You've still got some tentpole things coming out I think people will be interested in. But I think you're going to see a drop off in terms of releases after a while because Disney's already having to push stuff back.
Well,
because you can't work.
They just made incredibly poor decisions They have.
Yeah.
I I mean, it is what it is. It's not. I mean, can you blame me for that?
No, it's
No,
accurate.
because it's true.
Well, they just had their conference call, their earnings last
Hmm.
week, and a lot of things are suffering. They just lost what half a billion subscribers to Disney Plus. Now, to be fair, that's on the India side because they aggregate all those sections, not just one.
Well, I think because they don't have enough content on Disney Plus.
They have
That's
Bluey.
I I don't watch Bluey,
No, but
but
no.
they're either kids, teens, or sci-fi.
Well, what else is there?
I think it's time to wrap this up.
Well, I'll just say about that. Bluey is their number one rated show, week after week after week, and it's not even theirs. They license it from a company in Australia.
Oh my goodness.
So, and we've seen it because we were at a chair competition a couple months ago. Our grandson was with us, and Bluey was on in the
Oh, I did.
in the. I'm going to blame my grandson, who is just over 2 years old. But you know what? I'm going to blame him why I was watching it, and that's the story we're going to go with. By the way, really good stories, really good family content.
I can always count on you.
You know what? Someone's got to do the research for this particular channel.
Yeah.
All right. And with that, I think that's all the overtime we have because anything else I say is just going to get more questions that I really don't want to answer. So we want to thank you for tuning in this week to Midnight Magic Musings, episode 27. We'll be back next week, probably together again. If, I don't do anything wrong or, I get in trouble. Otherwise, as long as I'm allowed to record, I'll be back. Or she may record because I may not be allowed. But what we do ask everybody before we go, click the like button if you haven't done so already. Please subscribe. Share it with your friends. Share it with people you don't like. We're not picky here. We'll take people who don't like you. We'll like them. If you can't like them, we'll like them for you. All right. On behalf of Lady Cephas, I am the Lord Cephas. We are one. We are together. Y'all have a great week, everybody. We'll see you again. Take care.
Bye.
Bye.